Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Scharf Show here on 99.1 FM WIUX. And we have had a great week of sports. We have the World Series coming up. We've had both pennant winners this past week. The World Series will start this Friday. We had a great week of NFL. We had another great week of NHL hockey. And the NBA is up and going as this season starts to progress and storylines start to come out of the NBA there. But we're going to start as we usually do in the NFL. And my New York Football Giants, they moved to 6-1. They beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 23-17. And it was just one of those games where good teams that make the playoffs find ways to win that game. And bad teams that don't make the playoffs find ways to lose that game. And that's what happened. That's exactly what happened. You saw a Jacksonville Jaguars team that is an okay team. Listen, they're going to put up fights. They're going to get some wins here. But they're not a playoff team. They're not going to win those close games this year. And you saw that on the final play when Zay Jones catches the ball, I believe. It was Zay Jones catches the ball at the 1 yard line and can't get in. And the Giants hold him and they end up winning the game. Julian Love makes a great catch. It was Christian Kirk. My bad. Christian Kirk. But his story still applies the same way. Julian Love, Landon Collins, who's made a great impact so far in his first game, Xavier McKinney, they all rally to the ball, rally to Kirk, and don't allow him to cross the goal line. And in the final play of the game, and the Giants end up winning. It shouldn't have been that close, I will be honest with you. But, what happens, and Giants didn't make an excuse. The Giants didn't make any excuse. They went out there and they got the job done in the end. And it doesn't matter if it's 40-0 win or 23-7 win on the final play from 1 yard away from a loss, possibly. They both count for, guess what? One win. They both count for one win. So you end up taking. We'll take a deeper dive right now. Looking at the offense for the Giants. Saquon Barkley didn't have the greatest first half on the ground, but really got going in the second half. Ended with 24 carries for 110 yards, with an average of 4.6 yards per carry, long of 20. Daniel Jones, I thought, had one of his better games of the year again. In the air, he was 19 of 30 for 202 yards and a touchdown. Then he also ran for a touchdown, also ran 11 carries for 107 yards, 9.7 yards per carry. Daniel Jones continues to be, I think, like I said, he's the level above game manager. He is a guy who can go out there, win you games, and if he doesn't turn the ball over, he has a good chance of doing that. He's a guy that's never, I don't think, going to be in that elite frame, that franchise. I don't know how you classify a franchise QB, but the elite of the elite, the top of the top, the Josh Allens, the Patrick Mahomes, the Lamar Jacksons, the Joe Burrows. He's not going to be in that tier. He could be, though, in the tier below them, which is very good. He could be in that top 15 pair. He could be a Kirk Cousins-like QB. Maybe he's not going to do the same things Kirk Cousins does. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is he could be at that skill level, that tier of quarterback that Kirk Cousins has been on. And Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. I think he's the definition of an average quarterback. But he could win you games. He's going to drive you down the field. He's a top 15 quarterback. And I think Daniel Jones could probably be a little bit better than Kirk Cousins even. So he could be a top 15 quarterback. I don't think he'll ever reach the top 7, 8. But, there's 32 teams. If you're in the top 15, if you're around 12, 13, you're doing pretty well. You're doing pretty well. Rest of the offense. Boy, oh boy. Do we need another wide receiver? Because the amount of drops in this game was ridiculous. Daniel Jones had decent enough stats this game. His stats could have been way, way better. if he had some receivers to throw to. Darius Slayton had an okay game. 3 receptions for 58 yards. He did have a 32-yard touchdown catch, which was beautiful. But he dropped a couple. Wan'Dale Robinson was having a great game. 6 receptions for 50 yards, 8.3 yards per carry. Fortunately, he got hurt. I don't know the extent of his injury. Hopefully he comes back soon. Injuries were another big problem in this game. You also had Evan Neal, who got hurt. He's going to be out 2 to 4 weeks with an MCL injury. Hopefully he misses the Seahawks game this coming week. We have the bye week, and hopefully he can come back after the bye week, or at least a week after the bye week, to get back into it. So I'm not as concerned. Daniel Bellinger got poked in the eye or something, and it was he needs surgery. The rookie tight end, which sucks because he was one of our best red zone threats. So I don't know. He said he'd be out indefinitely, so I don't know how long he'll be out. But that could be a big loss. But even with these, you still need a wide receiver. You can't be throwing out Marcus Johnson when he's dropping passes. Richie James dropping passes. David Sills dropping passes. These can't be your guys. And if I'm the Giants, apparently they're looking at Jerry Jeudy, and I would go get Jerry Jeudy. Apparently the price is around 2 3s. I would be totally willing to pay 2 3s for Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy, a young wide receiver, only been in the league 2 years, I believe. Was picked in the first round, so he still has a lot of upside. And it just gets you a guy you can just get the ball to. He can create separation, put the ball in the end zone. Just somebody to get the ball in his hands. Daniel Jones can find a reliable receiver. My God. So I would pay that. I'd consider paying a second-round pick. It'd be a little much, but I'd definitely consider it. Considering what you need from this team is desperately a wide receiver. On the defensive side, our defense showed toughness. I thought Kayvon Thibodeau was, again, fantastic. They showed grit at the end. I thought they were decent in the passing game. I did have a bit of concern, though, in the rushing game. Teams have shown that some teams have shown that they can run on us, and they can run pretty well. Travis Etienne, 14 carries, 114 yards, 8.1 yards per carry with a touchdown, and a long of 49 yards. They only ran the ball 29 times, which is crazy. That's including 4 Trevor Lawrence runs and 2 wide receiver end rounds. So I think if Jacksonville ran the ball a bit more, it could have been a problem. So that is something I definitely want to see improved, and if it continues to bite us, this could be a problem. I mean, you saw with Kenyon Drake last week. I mentioned if it continues to happen, this could be a problem. I wasn't as worried about it. I'm starting to get a bit worried about the run game. But otherwise, this was a solid win. It wasn't our A game, but was a solid enough game that you got the job done. Now you have to travel to Seattle, and listen, Seattle's a tough opponent. This is going to be a tough game. You're going to Seattle, one of the toughest places to play at. And the Seattle Seahawks are a scrappy team this year. They are a team that you do not like to face, really, because they're going to make you work for it for 60 minutes, whether you win or lose. So, Giants better be coming ready to play. That's all I'm going to say for that game. Moving on to the rest of the NFL, I think one of the bigger games that had meaning, that was a pretty good game, was the Colts and the Titans, as the Tennessee Titans ended up routing the Colts 19-10. And really, they take a big stronghold on this division. Now they have swept the Colts in both games this year. I think this doesn't eliminate the Colts, but it really puts a dent on them trying to make the postseason. I just think that the Titans just dominated on most of the level in the running game. Derrick Henry, 30 carries, 128 yards, 4.3 yards per carry. That's all they were doing, really. I mean, Matt Ryan had another bad game. When you're having Matt Ryan throw the ball 44 times, it's not a recipe for success. When Jonathan Taylor only gets the ball on the ground 10 times, you're not going to win like that if you're the Colts. He was averaging 5.8 yards per carry. 5.8. Why aren't you handing the ball off to him more? That's crazy. It's like you see it working. It's like, nah, let's give it to the old veteran quarterback who's been pretty rocky this year. What? Versus one of the best backs in the league? A little crazy. Paris Campbell had a nice game. Michael Pittman for the Colts receivers. I'm thinking you're starting to see some of the Colts receivers starting to step up a bit. They still might need a receiver, but it's not looking as the biggest. It's not looking like they need a receiver. It'd be nice for them to get another one, but I don't think they're desperate for one, as I would say other teams are. And again, the Titans only threw the ball 20 times. You're not having Ryan Tannehill throw the ball. Austin Hooper had led your team in yards, or their team in yards, with 3 catches for 56 yards. Didn't do much on the ground. They just pounded the ball, and the Colts couldn't stop it. Matt Ryan didn't have a great game. That ultimately led to the Titans winning this game. And you know what the Titans did after that? They are now benching Carson Wentz for Sam Ehlinger. Was a 6th-round pick last year from Texas. So I've seen a bunch of memes of course, Texas and Colts fans coming together to root for this guy. And to me, this just shows an epic failure for the Colts. Excuse me. But you're already giving up in Week 8. You're already giving up on the guy you traded for. So you gave up on 1 year for Carson Wentz. You gave up on 7 weeks after 7 weeks of play going into Week 8 on the QB you traded for now. It just doesn't look good. This guy has no business starting a game. Listen, he was a solid quarterback at Texas, in his final year in 2020, threw for 2,500 yards. 2018, 2019, threw for over 3,000 yards. Threw 26 touchdowns his senior year. Junior, 32 touchdowns. Was a good quarterback, but this guy has no business starting for the Colts. And to me, it just proves epic failure. I still think they can win, maybe, because this Colts team is loaded with talent still. But this just screams epic failure from the GM, from the coach, and I think after this year they should both be fired, without question. Then I think probably another one of the more shocking, I would say, results was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They get slapped around, upset for the second week in a row. They get manhandled by the Carolina Panthers 21-3. And wow, P.J. Walker leads the Panthers to victory. They don't have Christian McCaffrey. We'll get into that after that. That'll be what we're talking about next. But no Christian McCaffrey. You have Devontae Foreman run for 15 carries, 118 yards. Chuba Hubbard, 9 carries, 63 yards. They ran it down their throats. DJ Moore had a sick catch in the end zone with a little toe drag. He had 7 catches for 69 yards. He's putting on a little tryout, hopefully, for other teams, I think. But if you're a Tampa Bay Bucks fan, if you're rooting for the Tampa Bay Bucks, you have to be extremely concerned in this team, because Tom Brady does not look like the same quarterback. This defense is very suspect right now. It is not playing up to the level it should be. This should be a top 5 to 10 defense in the league, and it is not playing it like that. The fact that you had the Carolina Panthers, whose offensive line is not great, who's now running with Devontae Foreman and Chuba Hubbard, no Christian McCaffrey, run all over you. 173 total rushing yards from the Panthers, 6.4 yards per carry. 6.4. And then on the offensive side, they couldn't do anything. Mike Evans had another nice game, 9 receptions for 96 yards. They have the talent. Their O-line did not look great, and neither did the running back. Leonard Fournette, 8 carries, 19 yards, 2.4 yards per carry for Leonard Fournette. Rashad Wright, 6 carries, 24 yards, 4 yards per carry. They end up going for 46 rushing yards with 2.9 yards per carry. Brutal game on the ground. Tom Brady did not look like himself. Couldn't make some of these throws. I know Evans said had a nice game. He dropped a touchdown, though, an easy touchdown. Brady was missing on throws. They are completely off. And I don't know if it's maybe because Bruce Arians is not the head coach anymore. He's taken more of a front office role. I don't know if it's what happened with Giselle and stuff like that, with Tom Brady, the retiring and then unretiring. I don't know what it is, but I am very concerned for this Tampa Bay Bucs team. I still think they make the playoffs. I still think they win their division. That's only because their division stinks. It stinks. They got the Falcons, the Panthers, and the Saints. That might be the worst division in football. Honestly. Like, you could make a case for maybe the AFC South. Definitely can make a case for the AFC South. And if Green Bay stays this bad, you make a case for the NFC North. But the NFC South is terrible. I think Tom Brady, somebody needs to call a meeting, be a players-only meeting, be like, we need to get this together. And I am very worried. I'm very worried of Brady. I'm very worried on this running game. I'm very worried in this O-line. I'm very worried in this defense. Because they have all the talent. They should have destroyed Carolina Panthers. Every year Brady's been on that team, they have destroyed the Panthers, except for this one. And it doesn't look good for the Tampa Bay Bucs. They need to really shake it up and start looking at themselves, because they have a tough game coming up against the Baltimore Ravens. Then you play the Rams and the Seahawks, who are not going to be easy games. They do not have an easy schedule for the rest of the way. They don't. So it's going to be a dogfight for them, and I am worried for them. Now, the big trade, we'll talk about a couple of trades. The biggest trade, though, that happened, we just talked about, Christian McCaffrey. No longer a member of the Carolina Panthers. He gets traded to the San Francisco 49ers. He goes for a second-round pick, a third-round pick, a fourth-round pick, and a fifth-round pick. The second, third, and fourth being in this coming draft. The fifth-round pick being in 2024. Now, I like the Panthers moving on from McCaffrey. I think they are definitely in a full rebuild. It sounds like they're going to trade everybody except for probably Brian Burns and Derek Brown, D-tackle and pass rusher. Or they could trade Brian Burns, but their asking price is at least 2 firsts, and I don't think anybody is going to end up paying that. But I think I like what they got. I think the teams that they were talking to, ultimately the Rams and the Niners were the last 2 teams. You weren't going to get a first-round pick because they didn't have a first-round pick. So you get a second, third, fourth, and fifth for a running back. Granted, one of the best running backs, if not the best running back in the league. But he's about to get paid, so I think that diminishes his value just a ton. He's starting to get up there in age. He's an injury concern. So getting a second, third, fourth, and fifth, I think getting a multitude of picks versus maybe getting like 2 seconds probably helps a little bit more as you're looking to improve on a bunch of positions. You're not a couple positions away. So you're not looking for that 1 or 2 guys. You're looking for a bunch of guys. So I like the value that they got. For the Niners, I like the trade. I don't love the trade. I don't mind what they gave up. I don't think they gave up too much. I think they gave up decently on the heavier side. But I think there was other ways to improve the team, I think. But because I feel like anybody could get their rushing attack done. Granted, if you watch the game, he played a limited snaps. Maybe what Jeff Wilson takes 6 yards, he's taking 10 yards, McCaffrey. So maybe this catapults them more than I think. But their rushing game was already a huge strength So I don't know what it does. Again, I think this 49ers team is super complete. Just I do not like Jimmy G at all. I've spoke about it before. I don't think he's very good, and I think he holds this team back. So I think that's what they'll be but besides that, this lineup, this roster could be one of the most, if not the most complete roster in the NFL now. So that's why I like this trade. It just, did you want to give up that much to go with Jimmy G while your rushing attack was being pretty solid and was like the main part of your offense? I don't know, but Christian McCaffrey is one of those guys who will change it from a very good rushing attack, which it is ready to, arguably could become the best rushing attack in the NFL. So ultimately, I do like it for the 49ers. I don't love it, but I do like this trade. Then you had James Robinson traded to the Jets for a day 3 pick. I like that deal. For the Jets, you lose Breece Hall to an ACL injury. You recoup with getting James Robinson and you don't need to keep him after this year, but then you split the room with him and Michael Carter. For the Jags, it made no sense getting only a late-round pick for James Robinson. I thought he was one of the most underrated running backs in the league. I don't know why they didn't use him. I know they love Etienne, but I think if you traded him earlier in the year, you could have got more value from somebody at least. Maybe probably like a day 2 pick, in my honest opinion. But when we come back, we'll have our picks for this next coming week in the NFL here on the Scharf Show, 99.1 FM, WIUX. Welcome back to the Scharf Show here on 99.1 FM, WIUX. Week 8 of the NFL is coming up. I'm going to give you my picks right here, right now. And, of course, you know the rules. We pick every game money line. I will tell you, though, what I think of the spread. Plus, I will give you one lock of the week that I think is guaranteed to happen. And then I will give you one upset pick of the week that's, I think, a good bang for your buck. That upset pick is at least 3.5-point underdogs. So here we go. Starting on Thursday night, we got the Baltimore Ravens traveling to Tampa Bay to play Tom Brady and the Bucs. Bucs are 1.5-point favorites. And like we talked about, the Bucs are in shambles. I think Baltimore's coming off a good, gritty win, winning late against the Browns. Give me Baltimore to go to Tampa Bay and take Tom Brady's soul, really have them questioning what are we doing. And the Bucs are not going to look good after this week. Then we got the Denver Broncos going to Jacksonville to face the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville is 2.5-point favorites, and I don't know. I have a feeling about this one. I'm going to take the Broncos here. I have a gut feeling that they find a way to win this one to keep their season alive because according to some reports, if they lose this game, they are going to be selling a lot of people. For example, Bradley Chubb would be on the market and a couple other defensive players. So I think they ultimately win this one to save their season. I think Russell Wilson plays in this game, and ultimately it saves their season, at least for right now. Then we move on to the Carolina Panthers, the P.J. Walker-led Panthers. They're going up against their divisional foe, the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons are 4.5-point favorites, and I like Atlanta. I know Carolina's coming off a great win, but at home in Atlanta, Atlanta's a very feisty team, a very scrappy team. They might not have the talent, but they're going to put up a dogfight. And ultimately, I think that is more important in the end. That finds them a way to win against the Carolina team, who I don't think has that scrappy dogfight in them. They know they're selling. They've seen it selling. They lost McCaffrey. They're going to lose a couple other pieces. I don't know if it's going to be this week or next week. So I don't think they're going to have that extra drive. Give me Atlanta here at home. Then we got the now Tua again-led Dolphins going up north to Detroit to play the Detroit Lions. Detroit is 3-point underdogs, and I love the Dolphins. I love the Dolphins in this one. I think they are going to roll over the Lions. The Lions' offense does not look the same as it has in the first couple weeks. The defense still looks as bad as it was in the first couple weeks. Dolphins looked good again with Tua at quarterback. Their defense came to play again. I like the Dolphins here, and I think they well overcovered the 3 points. Then you got the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're going to the city of brotherly love, if that's what you want to call it, to face the undefeated Eagles. Eagles are 10.5-point favorites. I mean, I'm not going to pick against the Eagles here. Eagles are undefeated going up against, I think, one of the worst teams in the NFL, in the Pittsburgh Steelers. I will say, though, Pittsburgh likes to keep it close on some of these games. I do think they will cover here. But I still think the Eagles win this one, and they win, I wouldn't say comfortably, but I'll say they win by, let's say 7. We'll say by around a touchdown. I think Pittsburgh still covers, though. Arizona, they're traveling up north to play Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are -4. And here is my upset of the week. We're taking the Cardinals to win. Not a lot of great upsets picked this week. I think Minnesota is a tad overrated. And I think Arizona, it plays to the level of their competition kind of a lot. So if they're playing a good team, they seem to play well. If they're playing a bad team, they seem to play very poorly. And Minnesota being a solid team, I think they play up to them, and I think they ultimately win this game, confusing you on what Arizona is, because they are kind of a team that's all over the place. Then you got the Chicago Bears coming off a huge upset win on Monday Night Football last night against the Bill Belichick-led Patriots. They are going down south to Texas in Jerry's World to play the Dallas Cowboys. And the Cowboys are 9.5-point favorites. And give me the Cowboys here. Give me the Cowboys to cover as well. I think this is a landslide. I think Chicago getting that upset win, and the Patriots will get their morals high. I think they'll be excited, and I think that gets shut down. I think Dak looks a bit like his old self here against Chicago. They just don't have the talent to match up against this Cowboys, and I think Justin Fields gets sacked at least 6 times. He is going to be bruised all over after this next week. And then you got the Las Vegas Raiders. They're traveling to New Orleans to play the Saints. The Saints are 2-point underdogs. I like the Raiders here, starting to get back on track. The schedule's lightening up a bit from what the first couple games were. New Orleans is kind of just like an average to below average team, in my opinion. They're not going to beat any of the decent teams. They'll beat up on the bad teams. I like the Vegas here, and I like to cover as well. Then we had a game where I went back and forth before today, but yesterday really stalled. You got the Bill Belichick Patriots traveling to the Meadowlands to face their division rival, the New York Jets, who are 5-2. Crazy. The Jets are 5-2. Jets are 1.5-point underdogs. After last night's performance, I gotta take the Jets. I mean, the Patriots looked terrible last night. The Jets are rolling. If Belichick did what the Patriots did what I thought they were going to do last night, I was going to take the Patriots. I thought they might, because Belichick knows how to get to young QBs, get their number really, and put a lot of pressure on them. But they looked terrible last night against Justin Fields and the Bears. So give me the Jets here to win this game. Then you got Tennessee. They're looking to really take a stranglehold on that division, going down south to play their division rival, the Houston Texans. And this is my lock of the week, with Houston being 2-point underdogs. Surprising it's only 2 points, but give me Tennessee to win this game and cover. I think they really affirm themselves as the number 1 team in the division. I think Derrick Henry will run over 100 yards, and at least a toddy, and put this game between at least double-digit win for the Tennessee Titans here. Then we got my New York Football Giants, as we talked about. They're going to the Seattle Seahawks. They are 3-point underdogs at Seattle. Give me the Giants here. I know this is going to be a dogfight. I know this is going to be a battle, but in those fourth-quarter games, Giants have come up every time in this season. I'm not going to start doubting that. I'm not going to start doubting Brian Daboll. Give me the Giants here to win this game going into their bye week. Then we got the Washington Commanders. They're coming to where the state I'm in, Indiana, to play the Colts. Colts 3-point underdogs. And they got their new QB, Sam Ehlinger, starting, and I'm going to give it to them. I'm going to give them the win here, even at 3-point underdogs. Even though the Commanders are coming off a big win against the Packers, I just don't think this this Commanders team is going to win back-to-back games to get to 500. I think with Ehlinger at QB, I think the Colts actually do something they should be doing most of the season, run the ball. They run the ball effectively. They're going to run the ball well down Washington's throat, and ultimately I think that gets them the W. I think Jonathan Taylor has his best game of the season so far. Then we move on to San Francisco, traveling to their division rival Rams. The Rams are 1.5-point underdogs at home. And I just don't think the Niners are going to get the sweep against the Rams. I think the Rams know if they lose this game, their season is in a lot of trouble here. Especially with an 0-2 record against probably the other team that's going to vie for the division title. Give me the Rams here at home. I am not confident about that pick, though, at all. That's probably my least confident pick of the day. But ultimately, give me the Rams here at home. Then we got the Green Bay Packers coming off of three losses to the Giants, Jets, and Commanders. They're going to Buffalo to play the Bills. The Bills are 11-point favorites. Can you remember the last time that Aaron Rodgers was 11-point underdogs? I can't remember the time like that. He hasn't been favored in all his games, but 11-point underdog for an Aaron Rodgers-led Packers team. Wow. I'm going to take Buffalo. I don't know if they cover, but I will take Buffalo here. I think the Packers play decent enough to keep this a game until the fourth quarter, and then ultimately Buffalo will take advantage. But I think you start the Packers kind of have a wake-up call and say, hey, this is the teams we should be playing against and playing well against and hopefully having a chance to beat. And I think this is kind of a wake-up call for the Packers right here going up against Buffalo. Then, Monday Night Football, you got the Cincinnati Bengals traveling to Cleveland. Cleveland is 3-point underdogs, and give me Cincy. I think they've really turned it on. Their season is starting to come alive. I am not big on this Cleveland team. I know they just put up a good fight against the Ravens, but give me Cincy here to win this game. So ultimately, we got Arizona as our upset pick, Tennessee as our lock, and the rest goes as follows: Baltimore, Denver, Atlanta, Dolphins, Philly, Cowboys, Vegas, the Jets, the Giants, the Colts, the Rams, the Bills, and the Bengals. When we come back, we're going to preview this World Series and how we got here. And boy, oh boy, has it been crazy right here on 99.1 FM, WIUX. All right, welcome back to the Scharf Show here on 99.1 FM, WIUX. The World Series, we made it. We made it to the World Series. Starts on Friday. And it is the Philadelphia Phillies, yes, you heard me right, taking on the Houston Astros. And it's been a crazy, crazy postseason. We'll start off in the NL. I had the Padres beating the Phillies in 6 games, I said. Phillies end up winning in 5 games. And all the concern, I will say this. I still am not, I don't believe the Phillies are going to win the World Series. We'll get to that in a second. But I have to give them credit. Rhys Hoskins has looked fantastic. Bryce Harper has been fantastic. Their hitting has been clutch. And guys like Gene Segura. Schwarber has been kind of clutch. Their bats have come alive, and they've gotten pitching when they've needed to get pitching. Their pitching always hasn't been fantastic, but when it's needed to be, it's been brilliant. So I got to give the Phillies credit. Although I don't know if they can keep it up for one more series, I will give them credit. They have been very good this postseason. But some of the biggest concerns that came for me from the Padres side, going into this series, they came alive. And they really showed their ugly head, which I think the Padres were a team that were better off in a shorter series, the 5-game series and the 3-game series, because their pitching, I think, relied on 2 guys, which was Musgrove and Yu. And even Musgrove didn't have a great series this series against the Phillies, but still, those were their 2 guys that I thought would be decent. I wasn't sure about Snell. I wasn't sure about Clevenger. or anybody else they really would throw out there. And besides Josh Hader in their bullpen, I wasn't like confident in their bullpen, and it showed. Clevenger got rocked. Snell didn't have a great game. Even Musgrove didn't have a great game. You had 2 good starts. That's about it. And it really showed. I mean, their hitting came alive a bit. Soto looked very good for the Padres. Machado was good. They had clutch hitting, kind of, but whenever they would get clutch hits, the Phillies, the pitching could not do the same thing in the next half inning. If they scored 2 runs, the Phillies would come back and score 3 runs. The pitching could not hold the lead. They could not gain momentum. I think that really hurt the Padres hitters, and that ultimately led to the Phillies really dominating this series. And for the Padres, I think it's just, hopefully you get Tatis back. I think it's just fine. I'm not as big on Clevenger as other people. I think Snell's starting to get up there in age. Maybe you start to fill out, find a couple guys for the rotation and really fill out that bullpen, because, again, I was not big on their bullpen. I think that's probably their biggest weakness. So if you're going to the offseason, you're trying to fill out that bullpen. But going on to the other series, the Yankees versus the Astros, the Stros, they bring out the little brooms as they get a sweep versus the Yankees. And as they were quoted saying, I forget which Astros player, you wanted the Astros? Well, you wanted Houston? Well, you got Houston, to the Yankees fans. And boy, oh boy, did they get Houston. Houston absolutely dominated that series. From start to finish. It was just a beatdown. And I really think it put the Yankees in their place to show them, hey, you are not the old Yankees. You are going to have to fight for your team. You're not walking into any World Series anymore. Houston owns you right now, and you're going to have to get over that, especially with one of the biggest off seasons in the past 15 years for the Yankees, with Aaron Judge being a free agent. And on the Astros side, they are just so good. So good. It is so hard to find a hole in this Houston Astros lineup. It really is. Their pitching was fantastic. Their hitting, fantastic. Yordan Alvarez has been one of the best players and one of the best hitters in baseball in the regular season and now in the postseason. Bregman's been great. Pena with a clutch 3-run homer in the last game. He has filled in perfectly for the shoes that Carlos Correa left. Jose Altuve's been fantastic. You know, Yuri Gurriel. Where is Gurriel? I'm trying to look at him. Yuri Gurriel's been batting .333 in the postseason. Bregman's been great. Alex Tucker has struggled a bit, but you know he can get you a clutch hit anytime. McCormick's been okay. Maldonado has been producing at least, but not power-wise, but he's been getting on base at a 500 clip. Actually, never mind. He has a 429 slugging. I've been reading these wrong a little bit. Mancini is the only one who really hasn't been hitting at all. I mean, Kyle Tucker, like I said, has been struggling a bit, batting 154, but he's getting on base at a 313 average, so at least he's getting on base for the other guys to do some damage. Same with, like, Yordan Alvarez. Dude has not been maybe as getting as many hits as you want. He's been getting big hits, but not as many because they're walking a lot. He's got 389 on base percentage because they just don't want to face him. And that's when Bregman comes up, and he's been fantastic right now. He's been absolutely fantastic, Alex Bregman has been, because when you don't want to pitch to Yordan, you have to pitch to Bregman, and they're making them pay. Bregman's making them pay for them to do that, and it's really showing that there's no holes in this lineup. Their pitching has been phenomenal, like it's continued to be. Lance McCullers with a solid outing, 5 innings for him. Gave up a couple hits, but limited the damage to 3 earned runs. Verlander, Framber Valdez, you got Garcia. This team is so good. They have not lost a game all postseason. All postseason, they have not lost a game. So, going into this World Series, I think the keys are going to be, can the the Phillies pitching handle this Houston Astros hitting, and can they get these clutch hits? When they give up runs, can they respond for the Phillies? Can they respond? Ultimately, I don't think they do. I think this Astros team is too good. I said it. I know I picked the Mets, but I said if the Mets don't win it, I love the Astros. I think the Astros win in 5, and my MVP is Alex Bregman. I think again, the trend will continue of not pitching to Alvarez and Bregman making them pay. I think Bregman, who had a kind of a disappointing regular season, puts his stand in the postseason and says, "Hey, I might not have the greatest regular season, but I'm still one of the better third basemen in the league. Don't write me off just yet." Not just yet. And ultimately, the Astros put the cheating scandals to bed, really, showing them, hey, we are still that team. We are still that team. Moving on from baseball to hockey a bit, it's been a pretty great season so far. I think the biggest surprise so far for the season has been the Boston Bruins. They sit atop the NHL right now, first in the division, first in the conference, first in the league, at a 5-1 record with 10 points. And everybody from them has been playing well. But I just don't think this is sustainable. So I wouldn't put your money on this team to continue this paid success, especially without Brad Marchand, especially without Charlie McAvoy. You're getting great production from guys like Pasta, who has 10 points in 6 games. Krejci, 7 points in 6 games. Bergeron, 6 points in 6 games. I think those are kind of sustainable. Maybe like a Taylor Hall, 5 points in 6 games. Those are a little more sustainable. But guys like A.J. Greer having 5 points in 5 games. Connor Clifton having 4 points in 6 games. I love Connor Clifton, but he's not going to be a 50-point guy. Jake DeBrusk having 5 points in 5 games. Being a point-per-game guy. This is not going to be sustainable, I don't think. From the goaltending side, you're having a .929 save percentage from Allmark right now, which is fantastic. I don't know if that's all sustainable. Maybe like a .915, .918. Maybe that's sustainable, but .929. I just don't see the Bruins sustaining this success. Sustaining this success. Oh, the S's. The S's got me there. But ultimately, I just don't see them continuing this. I think it's a great start, but ultimately I do think they fall. So I don't bet on the Bruins just yet. New Jersey Devils. My Devils are 2-3 on the year right now. Just got lost 6-3 last night to the Capitals. Wasn't a great game. Hughes had his worst game of the year by far. Maybe his worst game in a long time. And he's off to a pretty slow start to the year. Not really putting up the stats that you thought maybe after last year, really poured it on. This year, it just hasn't been as much. He has 3 points in 6 games, a goal and 2 assists. I am not really that worried. I know the points will come. I know how good his talent is. People go through rough patches, and I know this was a tough game. I think he'll bounce back. He's too much talent not to. But I am still worried about the goaltending. I know Blackwood gave up 6 goals yesterday. Not all of them were his fault, but I'm still a tad worried about this goaltending and if it's going to hold up. I'm not worried about it. It's Jesper Bratt, though. He looks fantastic. He's going to get paid, I think, probably more than Nico Hischier. He could get paid more than Hughes, to be honest. He has been absolutely lights out so far this year. He's been fantastic. Scored his first goal yesterday, but he was leading the league, or at least tied for assists so far this year with 8. In 6 games, he has 1 goal and 8 assists for 9 points. He's been lighting it up, and he's been probably the biggest bright spot for the Devils. Now, we got about 2 minutes left. I wanted to have a little more time for the NBA, but it doesn't look like we're going to get there. I wanted to give my pick so far for who each conference winner is going to be, and ultimately who's going to win the NBA championship. On the West, I am ultimately going to end up picking the Memphis Grizzlies. I think Ja takes another step this year. I think their depth shows. I think the Grizzlies really emerge as not just one of the better teams in the Western Conference, but a team that can really start to win championships. Out of the East, I'm going to give me my Brooklyn Nets. I know that's biased, but I don't care. I just think they have too much talent with KD in them, and now Ben. I know Ben hasn't had the greatest start to the year. He has kind of one good game, 2 bad games with fouling out. But ultimately, I think it might take a bit, but I ultimately think he finds a way. And this team is just too talented, I think, not to get there at least one of the years with KD and Kyrie. And ultimately, I'll take the Nets to win the championship in 7 games against the Memphis Grizzlies. I think it'll be a tough series, but ultimately, I'm going to pick the Nets to win the championship against the Grizzlies this year in 7 games. Now, the one team I am concerned about is the Los Angeles Lakers. They are 0-3. They look terrible. And it just shows this team built around LeBron is not the way it has been built before for LeBron. It's not a way to win with LeBron, with guys that like to attack the rim, not shooters, guys that are up there in age. I think Jamal Crawford said it best somewhere, I forget where I saw it, but you need to build a young team around him who's going to play a lot of games and can shoot the ball very well. Having guys like AD who doesn't play all the time, Russell Westbrook who's a guy who can't shoot, other guys who can't shoot is a problem for LeBron. And to be honest, I might not have the Lakers making the playoffs this year. That's how crazy that I don't think this team is. But we'll see what happens with the Lakers. But if you're a Lakers fan, start this year, you got to be worried. Yeah, that'll do it for this show so far. For this week, thank you guys so much for watching. Looking forward to a great sports week here. We got the start of the World Series, another week of football, another week of hockey, and another week of basketball. Again, thank you guys so much for listening. I've been Josh Scharf here on the Scharf Show, 99.1 FM, WIOX. I will see you on the other side.